All right. Well, you can keep eating, and as we are talking, Paul and I here, we just want to introduce the day, the agenda to you, give you a sense of what's coming. So, again, I hope you got when you came in, we had some handouts back here with the agenda and some other things that we're going to be talking about. And so at some point, if you didn't get that, you'll want to go and get those handouts. As we gather today, I want to kind of confess, we really went back and forth. What do we call today? I mean, is it a visioning day? Is it a planning day? We ended up settling with ministry kickoff for the year. And I don't know that nomenclature matters here, except to say we want you to know what our purpose is here today, and why we invited you. And hopefully you saw that in the emails that Paul sent. This is absolutely the day at the beginning of the year when we look ahead, we look to the calendar, we look to our priorities, we all get on the same page. You are here today because you are interested in what is happening in the church and where the church is going. You're here today because maybe you said yes to sitting on a committee or a team of the church. And when we say committee, we're usually talking about the administrative committees like the trustees and finance, et cetera. And we're going to introduce those here in a second. And maybe you are just involved as a volunteer, and you're like, I'm here like 3 days a week. I may as well come and, listen to what's going on. And you came with that intent. So we thank you for being here for all of those reasons. Hopefully, by the time that you leave today, we want you to feel like you have connected with one another, the people who maybe are on your teams and committees, but also put names and faces with somebody else that you didn't know. That connection is good. We need to know as a church who takes care of that thing, or who do I go to for help with this? So we want you to be making those connections together. We apologize we don't have sticky name tags, but if you don't know somebody's name, if you've never met them, don't be embarrassed. Just say, tell me your name again, please. I promise you that there are times when Paul and I still have to do that on Sundays. So we want you to connect with one another, and so we'll have a lot of time for table discussions and talking. On the back of your agenda, there's actually a way for you to take notes in the presentations that Paul and I are going to be giving. There's going to be 4 things that we talk about, and so there's 4 squares there for you to fill in. Again, that's on the back of the agenda. We also want you to leave today not only familiar with each other and sort of what you do, what we all do here around the church, but we also just want you to feel like God is at work, and that there are good things happening here at Genesis, and that we want you to be able to talk about those good things. And those good things may start today, immediately. Maybe it's something we're looking forward to throughout the year, and there's a list of key dates. That was another handout, and then we'll refer to that. So it may be something happening right now, or maybe something you're looking forward to, or maybe it's something we do need to plan and we do need to incorporate. And we want things to come out of today that we feel good about, and that we know that God is leading us towards here in 2023. So with that being said, I just want to look back a little bit and say a few things about 2022. 2022, like our sort of post-pandemic reality, it had some highs and it had some lows. It had some good things and bad things that we want to remember and some things we want to forget. But forgetting but learning from. Some of our highs moments here at Genesis in 2022 is we resumed almost all of our in-person activities that we felt like were important to resume at this time. Can we get a round of applause for that? Things like children's church and the fellowship lunch and missions happening here, groups from the community coming back again. This all happened in 2022, that these things came back in person. Modern worship, yes, thank you. And that's really something to celebrate and to be pleased about and grateful for. Speaking of groups coming back in, we welcomed a lot of new community partners and got to know a lot of new people right here in our immediate community and in our neighborhood, including Chapel Hill Academy, which is Alina Pope School, and we're going to hear from them. They're going to be on our panel today, as well as Young Warriors, basketball, and others that I'm not going to list right now, but that was a real high moment for us. There were also some challenges in 2022, and some of this might also kind of carry into 2023, just like those high moments and those celebrations will carry into 2023. But some of the challenges will carry into 2023 as well. Our denominational struggles about UMC, losing friends, either to death or relocation, our aging facilities and the challenges that come with that. I mean, that was all part of the reality of 2022. But we are coming into the new year with this great group of leaders and volunteers here, with God's strength and the Holy Spirit. And so I think there's a lot of good things to look forward to. Our vision remains the same as the church. This is a vision that Paul and I introduced, and you find it on that note page. And that is that our church would be a Jesus-centered, life-transforming, world-blessing, spirit-filled community of people. That's our vision. Right? And everything that we do, we want to come back to that vision, to making that vision a reality. Is that when people come here for programs and for worship, it's life-changing. And that they'll see that Jesus is at the center and the Holy Spirit is leading us. And that what we do blesses the world. We have been blessed so that we can be a blessing. And that's our vision. As we get started here, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Paul, and he's going to talk some about our different committees and the chairpersons. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, that's you. Yeah. And then we are going to kind of transition into the next part. But first, we're going to. I think one of the pages you have is a list of leadership names, and so he's just going to look over that with you and let you guys introduce yourselves.
All right. So again, hopefully one of the pages you have is list of leadership, and I'm just going to invite a handful of people to stand up, and I'm going to introduce them because I have a microphone, and there's a couple of you at least that occasionally have a difficult time hearing. That's what I hear. So, all right. So I'm going to start with lay leader who's sitting over here. You want to stand up? This is Mr. Bob Greer. If you don't know Bob. And Bob has agreed to be our lay leader for the coming year, and we're grateful for that, and grateful to Liz for sitting on the nominating committee. And Liz had nothing to do with it, I promise. I promise, Bob, nothing to do with it. All right. I'm going to ask Steve. Steve, you want to stand up? This is Steve Kaufman, for those who don't know Steve Kaufman. Steve is our church council chair this year, and grateful for him, and looking forward to his leadership this year. Where is our newly elected trustee chair as of Tuesday night? Stand up, or just wave, Becky. This is Becky White. The trustees, this is a little Methodist point of trivia. The trustees are the only committee in the church that get to elect their own president, according to the Book of Discipline. And so Becky drew the short straw, or how do we no, just Becky is willing to do it this year, and we're very grateful for her and for that willingness. Our finance chair, many of you know Chris Youngs. He's not actually here. He sent me an email. He was traveling all week and is swamped with something like 400 emails or something like that. So he's not here today, but he sends his regrets, and he will be at the council meeting tomorrow. There we go. Just a friendly reminder for those of you who serve on the church council, with this event happening, want to make sure that didn't get lost in the shuffle. We do have a church council meeting tomorrow, immediately following the Sunday, the morning service, and that's primarily to talk about an approved budget for the year. Okay. Next, Holly, you want to stand up? This is Holly Bates. And Holly is our staff parish relations chair. And so any concerns or feedback from my co-pastor that you'd like to get, no, I'm just kidding. We're going to do this back and forth all day. No. Holly and the committee oversee with staff parish. Of course, they serve as sort of our personnel committee within the church, and so Holly has been wonderful with that, and we're grateful for her and grateful for her leadership there. How about Larry and Bev Munt? Why don't you stand up real quick? They'll have to explain why they're sitting on different sides of the room to you, but they are our lay delegates to annual conference this year, and so they kind of represent the larger church in our denominational circles, and also in that role are invited to sit on different committees within the church, and so wanted you to make sure that you knew who they were, and then I was trying to think if there was anyone else I should. Those are the committee chair people that I want to make sure. Again, most of you in this room are serving on a team or a committee, and so part of why we did that is some of you might not know who your chairperson is, and so now you do. All right, and so anyway, very grateful for those folks and their willingness to serve. One final thing is, on your leadership list, you may have noticed we still have a few holes. We were talking about this at the trustees. We could use another couple of trustees actually for the year. And so if you know someone else within the church who you would like to nominate or encourage to get more involved, if you want to whisper their name in Amber and I's ear, and then we will forget that it came from you, and we will go to them and maybe talk to them about serving in a different way. Okay? All right. So I'm going to turn it back over to my co-pastor, and we're going to start talking about some strategies for the year.
Yeah. So we are going to move to a kind of the part of the note-taking that I was talking about. And as we come to a new year, there's some important lessons that we've learned from the last year, and some things that we know we need to take into 2023. And so we kind of wanted to lay this out for you as a strategy, of sort of the 4 things that we think we really need to carry into this year and see through this year that will help us move forward as a church. Okay, help us to move forward as a church. And so I put some pens out. You might have brought your own. I'm going to invite you to participate by filling in the blanks, and we're going to work with some of these. You're going to find they all start with the letter E. I don't know why, they just do. So the first thing that Paul and I think to help us move forward as a church that starts with the letter E is embrace, is that we need to embrace the UMC, the United Methodist Church. And we need to do this with patience, okay? I want to talk to you about that just for a second, and you can make notes if you'd like. Last year, the church council, really kind of concluded or came to a consensus that we would not seek disaffiliation from the United Methodist Church at this time. Some of that you might know or have heard is very practical. And I'm not going to go into, I trust that you know what I'm talking about when I talk about disaffiliation and what's happening in the United Methodist Church. I'm not going to rehash or cover all of that. Some of the reason that's not something that we're going to pursue at this time is very much practical and financial. There are exit costs that would be very prohibitive for us to try to pay right now. It is also a very divisive process, and that's just not something that we think Genesis can go through right now. And for theological reasons as well, Genesis has always been comfortable with what they're calling a big tent theology, which is we have people on both sides and here at Genesis, and a wide variety of opinions when it comes to some of the things that the UMC is wrestling with right now, particularly human sexuality. But that this big tent has always been okay for Genesis, for us to live in. We have brothers and sisters, maybe probably in this very room, some who are more conservative or on the right, or some who are more progressive on the left. And that big tent, the United Methodist Church, as it is right now, is where we think we can live comfortably. But I think that there's some things that we need to do, that Paul and I, that is, we think moving forward in the new year, is if that's the case, if we're going to stay United Methodist, then we need to embrace the United Methodist Church. That will come. We're going to have some goals here for that. But it definitely means staying dialed in to what the conference is doing, and that's maybe something you've been interested in before, maybe not, but as a council, those who go to conference need to stay dialed in ahead of general conference in 2024 and jurisdictional conference as well. But just staying dialed in to what's going on probably isn't enough. We don't want to be reactive when that general conference and that jurisdictional conference comes around. That is to say, oh, something's been decided or something's changed. We didn't even think this was going to happen. We want to be more proactive. And so a big question that we have for Genesis and if embracing the UMC is that goes along with being patient with one another is figuring out where we stand on diversity, equity, and inclusion as a church. Because this will be an important part of the conversation about being United Methodist. And so we can imagine having conversations like that in 2023. But in more practical, kind of relational terms, I think it means the things that we've always loved about the United Methodist Church, things that we're talking about in our sermon series right now, currently, is that we just embrace those. We lift those up. Things like small groups and revival and innovation and scripture reading. We lift those things up. These are the things we love about our tradition. They are the best practices and the best things that we want to hold on to. And there's some other things about the United Methodist Church that come with our connectional church that we want to hold on to. And it's things like doing missions together with other local churches, right? Going to like Glen Lake Camp and taking advantage of Glen Lake. Paul's talking to some other United Methodist churches about bringing back the youth basketball games that we would play with other United Methodist churches. Things like that are the best of our connection. And really holding on and embracing that. But we know it's going to take patience because it's just the beginning of the year, and there could be more disaffiliations from other places. And one of those you may have heard from us or through the grapevine is your sister church, Christ UMC. So they are next Sunday going to be taking a church conference vote on whether to disaffiliate. And I will tell you, it makes us sad that it has come to that point. Our time today is not about Christ UMC, it's about Genesis UMC. But want you to know that is happening next week, and want to ask you to be praying for that event, that vote, and especially whatever happens after, and we'll let you know what happens with that for them. And so I have a goal for you to write in for this one, embracing the UMC with patience, and that is that we're going to pray for the United Methodist Church together. As a congregation, and we are going to pray for our new bishop, Bishop Sines, who was reappointed permanently to the Central Texas Conference and the North Texas Conference. So this is sort of the Dallas-Fort Worth area that he is going to be overseeing jointly. To pray for him and to pray for those clergy and lay leaders who are involved with the annual conference. So we're gonna start next month a little reminder for that, for all of us to be praying for our team, UMC on 3. And on the third day of the month, we're gonna pray for the United Methodist Church. Okay, UMC on 3. And we'll send a reminder in the news and notes that on the third day of the month, February 3rd, will be the first time we're going to pray all together and embrace the United Methodist Church with patience. We know that patience comes through prayer, and so maybe that will be something that you also pray for if you're struggling with what's happening in the United Methodist Church. So that's the first E for 2023. And so I'm going to turn it over to Paul to talk about the next E.
Before I talk about the next E, I want maybe 2 minutes. I want you to react to the first E with one another. Just real quick reactions around your table about that first E. Ready? Go. All right, so this table's doing a lot of All right, I'm going to pull you back together. Again, just a couple of minutes, kind of initial reactions, but again, we're lifting these things up because these are things we're going to continue to talk about. These are going to be focus areas and focus points for the church for the year, okay? The second E, let's go. Point of interest. Uh-oh, okay. Uh-huh. Oh, well, he's included, but we can. Well, yeah, we'll pray for the bishop, sure. So actually what I was hoping my co-pastor would do, some of y'all might not know this, but did you know that Amber, for 1 year of her life, was a cheerleader? And she was. Freshman year of high school, my in-laws say that they prayed for her soul that whole year. And obviously they're powerful prayers. But so what that is actually is, kind of the UMC on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. UMC. Okay, I thought she was gonna like do that, but anyway, okay. So is this being recorded? Oh, I forgot it's being recorded. Okay, well, right. Hello, recording. Actually, we are. That's a good point. We are recording this to share with those who aren't here today. Again, several folks were unable to make it today because of prior commitments, and so we are going to record it. So there you go. I'll do that again for the recording. So all right. Our second E. If we can move to the next slide, please. Church strategy: engage the community with curiosity. You're going to hear a lot of conversation this year about how we are intentionally seeking to engage the community. So if you are on the newly recreated missions community engagement team, just wave your hand kind of where you are, all right? So there's several people in different parts of the room. This team has been meeting recently, the last couple of months, and having some really great conversations that have been centering around how we are going to seek moving forward on the other side of COVID in our new reality where we are a somewhat smaller congregation maybe than we were several years ago. So how do we do missions? How do we engage with our community in ways that are sustainable and are relational and are dignity affirming? These are phrases we've been talking about. These are phrases you're going to hear us continue to talk about. And we are excited for the year to come. Now, this is, and if you've been around Genesis for any length of time, you know that what I'm about to say is absolutely true, that a real strength of our congregation historically is a commitment to missions and serving, right? Any amens for that? I mean, absolutely. This has been at the heart of who Genesis is for years. Missions and mercy. We as a congregation, you all historically have been exceptionally generous with your giving, with your sharing and meeting needs with partner organizations. This is, again, a real strength of Genesis as a church. What our team, this new team, has been talking about and where we are going to begin to push us as a congregation, and I hope it doesn't feel too much like pushing. I hope it feels like exciting, let's go, and not too much like pushing. But part of I'll speak for me, part of my experience the last 2.5 years, and again, there's a big asterisk because it was COVID, right? I mean, right. So understanding that, but a lot of our experience here at Genesis is that our congregation is very, very generous with kind of collecting and giving to meet needs, right? And we are very generous with the use of our facility and inviting people and extending hospitality to community organizations and other people to use our facility. We have a whole list of people and groups that do that. Where I think we can grow, and this is the pushing part, where I think we can grow is making that engagement more relational. And actually our hands and our feet going to our partner organizations and serving with them and serving alongside them. This is what the conversations we've been having as a team, and we are going to continue to have them. We need to get more curious as a church about who our neighbors are and listen to how we can come alongside them relationally. All right? Relationally. What are their joys and their concerns? What are their needs and strengths? How does our mission as a church align with their mission in our community? How can we come alongside and partner, and how can we kind of take another step, a next step in our generosity beyond generosity of giving, generosity of meeting needs, generosity of hospitality, into generosity of time and presence and effort where they are. Does that make sense? Like real intentional engagement. And again, I'm really excited about this because I know that this church has a huge heart for missions and for serving others. I mean, that's, again, central to who we are. And so I'm really excited about how this is going to take shape, okay? We're, as a team, and we're going to ask for your patience because these things are coming. We are, again, coming out of COVID, kind of identifying, trying to do things in a sustainable way. We're going to ask for your patience, but you're going to be hearing more and more through things like mission moments, through things like tables for partner organizations reappearing out here so that you can get connected, opportunities to go and serve with others in our church, okay? More of this is coming for places like Crowley House of Hope and Neighborhood Needs. We are talking about what it would take to sustainably be able to restart ESL here. Okay, so these are things that we are talking about and moving towards. But as we do that, you're going to hear from us over and over again. How do we engage relationally? How do we get to know their names, really understand their needs, listen to how we can be world blessing? Remember that phrase, world blessing partners and neighbors, okay? Does all that make sense? Nod your head if you think you're tracking me. Yeah? Okay. All right, good. So I'm going to give you another 2 or 3 minutes here. Actually, it would be about 5 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. There's a goal with this one, all right? Engaged presence with a community partner ministry. How many here have been part of Genesis long enough to remember P3? Raise your hand. Woohoo, look at all those hands, all right? So one of the P3, right, power of 3, was a week of mission and service, right, Troy? Did you hear me, Troy? All right, 1 hour a week, all right. Okay, one hour. That's right, 1 hour serving in ministry, all right? Okay, so engaged presence with a community partner ministry. So I'm going to challenge, okay, doesn't have to be 1 hour a week, all right? But I really want you to consider how you or where you might be personally engaged with one of our community partners, okay? That might be for you 1 hour a month. That might be 1 hour every quarter for an event. Like, there will be opportunities for engagement. We will promote these. That might be, I'm looking at John McCracken in the back, who you'll meet in a minute. That might be coming alongside some of our other church folks and beginning to volunteer across the street at Chapel Hill Academy, okay, in various ways. Or that might be coming together with a handful of folks and being part of an ESL group and reviving that, okay? So there are going to be these opportunities coming for you to get relationally hands-on involved, okay? So we're going to encourage you to be thinking about ways that you might personally engage, okay, with a community partner ministry. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to give you about 5 minutes. This would be a good time to react with one another. Also, maybe a bathroom break before what's next, which is our panel of community partners, which I'm really super excited about, okay? All right, so 5 minutes, couple minutes to react, and then you can do like a quick bathroom break. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're gonna share mics. So maybe Ryan, if you're okay, maybe if you want to move over a seat,
Yeah.
and then like Jamil and I can share, and y'all can
No problem.
and
Yeah.
y'all can share.
Well, that's two friends. Okay, that's good, Will. No worry. Oh, yes.
All right, everybody, I am going to draw your attention now back up to the stage. And it's been wonderful to see all of you. And I'm excited again for what we've already shared and what we are going to share. But to be perfectly honest, like, this is the part of the day I've really been looking forward to, is our panel. So I'm going to introduce these gentlemen here. We also have a couple of other panelists who have been communicating with me. One is running late from the vet with an animal, so a vet appointment that went long. So we may have a couple of people who join us in process, but I want to respect these gentlemen's time because they are here for our benefit, and we are grateful for that. So many of you know this gentleman. He is one of us and has been part of us for a long time. This is Jamil, and Jamil works with language support for Crowley ISD. Is that fair? Okay. There's a longer title, but he said I could just say that. All right. To his left is John McCracken. You have heard us undoubtedly say Lena Pope Chapel Hill Academy. We've already said it today. We've said it in other times and places. So you are the Director of Operations, correct? At Chapel Hill Academy across the street. And so thank you for being here. And then to his left is Ryan Thomas. And Ryan Thomas is is it President, CEO, what is it?
You can just say President.
President, okay. President of the Young Warriors Basketball Club that uses our gym very regularly, several nights a week. It looks like Ryan knows somebody in the crowd.
Our son Ricky coaches with us.
Yes, right. That's right. Ricky coaches with Young Warriors. I remember that. So these gentlemen have taken their time to be here this afternoon, and we're very grateful for that. And we're doing this because what we were just talking about in terms of engaging our neighbors, all right, relationally and listening. So all of them in different ways are very connected with our community. And so for this time, we are just going to have a conversation, and I'm going to invite y'all to listen. Okay? We've got some questions, and we may follow them or we may go off script, who knows, but we're going to have a conversation up here about our community here in Southwest Fort Worth and North Crowley, and I really just want you to kind of dial in and listen, and then you'll have some opportunity after, at the end, to kind of talk with one another about kind of what you heard and what really jumped out to you. Does that make sense? Okay. Great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here, and very much appreciate it. And Ryan and Jamil, whenever you want the microphone, just grab it, okay? So let's just start with an easy one, okay? Y'all are deeply connected in this part of town where we are. What is what's one thing that you really like, appreciate, enjoy about this community, about this area?
Well, I can jump on that very much as any of us, I'm sure we can. The kids, our future. This area and the entire Fort Worth area obviously is growing tenfold very quickly, very rapidly. With the expansion, other schools coming in the area, I'll speak upon that. Dealing with just Lena Pope, but some of the best thing is just the diversity. This community is very strong. We're out with the kids, we're out with the families every day doing home visits, seeing house building. Are there struggles? Sure. We all know that. We're coming out of COVID. We're coming out of many struggles throughout, but there's a lot of positivity there. We see it with students' growth. I'd not say finally out of it, but we know that those couple years had a detrimental effect a little bit on everybody's lives in many different ways. On the educational spectrum, again, they're a little bit behind. So finally, within this year, we're doing a lot of benchmark testing and other testings to see some of that progress going forward, because that's where we need to go. And again, it's very enlightening. We have a lot of involvement with our community, with the kids. I put my Lena Pope hat on now and open that up to the Fort Worth area, as Lena Pope in many ways has been integral before World War II, 1930s, when Lena Pope started the whole parsonage out of Camp Bowie, etc. So there's a legacy that goes beyond even just a school, but I'm very excited to the involvement, the caring of the community, and how everybody is coming together to move this forward, which we need to, because we as a village, we as a town, we as a area need to do it together, because that's how this works. So I'm very energized about that. I'll talk personally. I have 5 grandkids, and again, that drives me a lot being in this business, because I want to see what we can change, how we can do this to push this all forward. So that's very exciting to me.
You go first.
I also work in the business of education. So one of the things but I also live in this part of the neighborhood. I think what excites me the most is the possibility. It's also what fears, what I scare the most is also the possibility that we waste it. So I think the possibilities of having the growth in this community that is happening, it is a possibility. I think the changes in the community and how it's growing in different aspects, but it's also growing in the diversity of the community is a possibility. So that's what excites me the most about the changing and the face of this community changing. So diversity, equity, and inclusion are what excites me the most about what is the transformation for this community.
So I'm not originally from here. I'm from Kentucky. And when I moved here with TCU, we didn't come to this side of town. The biggest thing was like, you don't want to go over to North Crowley. You don't want to go in that area. You want to stay in your little, TCU area that's out of Barry. And now because of the stigmas, community, tough community, tough schools, not good education. But after graduating from school and being more plugged in through the Forward Young Warriors and through, coaching and stuff, you see a lot of progress, a lot of passion, a lot of love. A lot of people are out there just looking to, just do better, be better. And a lot of people around them that are not a part of their community looking to invest in that community as well.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. Let me now. So that was kind of what you're excited about, what you really look at and appreciate. Let me turn that around now and ask this question: is there something just through the families you're connected to, through your organizations or through your work, is there something that you could name that you feel like our kind of immediate community here, Southwest Fort Worth, North Crowley, really lacks or needs, or something you would really want or hope to be different?
Yeah, one thing to be completely. I think it's just the challenge to embrace new times, this diversity as we were talking about. That's a great point, sir. To say the diversity, things as have come to the surface, and we're talking about in our churches, in our community rooms now, is to have our eyes open to listen. I'm not here to sway political opinions or individual opinions, and this is a great country. I have to speak that, yes, I'm a 22-year Marine. I was a Marine Corps for 22 years. As a veteran, this is the best country ever. And there's a lot of diversity. You agree or not agree, but sit down and have a conversation. Have those conversations, please, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I only ask. We learn so much by having conversations. Learn if we can sit down and talk, and without the disgruntlement or the angers and etc., to the point of some of the events that are happening in this world, ladies and gentlemen. I'll speak freely that again, that you see what's happening in these schools and etc., and it's very disturbing, and we all know this. But the point is, I think the one thing I want everybody to take in, as a diverse country, probably the most in the world, that we have conversations and learn from each other. Take a moment and have an open mind and have a conversation.
I second that. I think, so I work with most of well, most of my day is working with Latinos and Latinas within our community. And one of the things that I think we struggle is the building of community. So we have neighborhoods, but we are struggling with the changing faces, not just the changing faces of the color of the faces, but the changing perspective of individuals within our neighborhoods. So we're struggling with building that community and bringing people together for whatever cause it is. I think we're struggling with building that community after the fact. So we can say, hey, everybody, we need to come up for this thing, one thing. And most people will come for that one thing because they believe in that one thing. But after that thing is done, I think we're struggling to see it. And in the school setting, it's easy to see. Parents come for school, but then there's no particular community besides that. And I think we're struggling with that as teachers, our students. So I think the connection piece, I think, is what we're struggling. And that's because social media has changed the understanding of connection. Churching has changed what it means for a lot of people. So I think we're struggling to see that and to connect that.
I think for me, it becomes more tangible in terms of what our community needs. As a coach, I try to, emphasize the importance of how sports and life kind of correlates. And a lot of the kids, they don't care about school. They don't care about learning. They just either want to hoop or they want to score touchdowns and go about their business. But the important piece to me is, what are they going to get you? Where are they going to take you? What is your end game? And we want our kids to go to college or trade school or do something beyond just giving them their high school diploma and say, go work at Sonic or go work at Coke, which is fine. But a lot of people shouldn't be content with that being their thing. So if you look around this area, this community, there's a pop-up, sports program every 5 minutes. Everyone wants to be a sports team. Everyone wants to be a coach, but no one wants to teach. No one wants to educate. No one wants to do that. And I think the most tangible piece is giving these kids something to do that expands beyond sports, beyond basketball, beyond football, beyond baseball. Like, where's the technology centers? Where are the learning centers? Where are the tutoring centers? Where are the dance programs for these kids? Where are the theater arts programs for these kids?
Yeah, so let me jump in, Ryan, because I think that's a really interesting and good point you're making, and I think it connects with something y'all were saying too, is kind of this lack of connection, lack of community, and your example, and you're obviously dialed in as a coach to this, like all these pop-up sports activity. Well, okay, so the kids find connection there, the kids find community there, and like, I'm curious, what else are you seeing in our kind of in this part of town? If anything else, besides like the pop-up sports, like how are others around us? Do you feel like trying to address this lack of connection, lack of community? Do you see what I'm asking? Like what are some other things that are happening that you've seen or that you?
Well, if I could talk about our social media. The connection portion there, at one time, I'm 55, okay? So, grew up in small...
That's young,
right,
John.
well, I'm trying, but hey, I'm hanging in there, right? But I grew up in a small town in Ohio, etc. When things happened, everybody knew their own business. The chat lines on the phones, you had to pick up the three-way lines. How we communicate was completely different than we're doing it right now. Few generations even that, but connections. Ladies and gentlemen, I was just in a seminar with Texas Education Agency, Region 11 right out here with Rory Peacock yesterday. We studied this, how kids are communicating. They're building communication. They're building radical communication. They're building good communication. They're building relationships and connections through their phones. Okay? When we could, we always, most people in here value by looking in your eye and having a good conversation and sitting down talking and enjoying that. most, I could say probably now, are taking their personal feelings, relationships they're currently having, associating it with a platform they're seeing on whatever social media, and connecting there. And that's how they're building their connections, is through technology. Again, I can go far right, I can go far left. It's good, and then it's tremendously bad. But again, connections. You talk about connections. We watched it yesterday. A company, Safe Schools Together out of Canada, actually. We work with them. I Love You Guys out of Colorado, the Texas School Safety Center, and we go through many, many different programs, and they're showing us, and it's evidence-based. We're showing, it's hard to watch sometimes what's happening there, but as the struggles have happened the past couple of years, and those strong feelings, good and bad, then when someone posts something, or they use that, as soon as they swipe on it or stay on it for a couple minutes, they're going to get more of it, right? And that just festers it. Then they connect there. Then those people reach out. So, or playing Call of Duty, or they have communications and connections through these technology pieces. So I say that to say this. I'm not saying everybody go get social medias and what have you. There's good and bad about everything. But how we communicate. And that's where I strongly say that I sit down and have conversations with students throughout the day, just to talk to them, to see how they're doing it, or how are they connecting, because they have just lost a parent because of COVID, or a tragedy happened here. But you're embarrassed. They're not, they're kids. They don't know how to bring that out, maybe to a coach or to another responsible adult at a school. But where they do is at home or behind that phone, relating to someone. They don't have to necessarily look into the eyes, but their feelings are so ingrained to what's happening behind that screen, and they're making those connections, strong connections. And that's where that leads them to more conversations with that group, or maybe possibly not a good person in that group. I can go on and on, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to, but I just want to kind of speak the truth about it, because there are some great ones, though. You see how people are coming to Christ, or people are looking to coaches and coming and reaching out in the proper way. There are those great stories. I have to swing and pendulum to the other side too, and that's where some of these tragedies, and you see that as much on news quite often. So you talk about connections. That's a huge piece right now. So as we think about our young people making connections, and please have those conversations, the old school wise that I kind of call it, sit down, talk with them a little bit, because they need to build that relationship that way, because they need those strong, responsible adults in their lives and someone to go to. That's the end-all catch-all, because when they make a bad decision, what have you, if there's a strong adult person in their life they can just go to for a brief second, and I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, it's a split second that you can make a change in someone's life.
All right, that last part started to sound like a recruiting thing, by the way, but which is fine. Which is fine. So again, this is part of what we're here to talk about. Did you want to add anything to that, to Jamil? No? Okay. So right. So I asked about kind of what you're observing in terms of. Hey, come on. All right, everybody, excuse us just for a second. So everybody, this is Mary Dainty. Everybody say hi, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
So Mary's a personal friend. She has a son who is Michael's age, and they're good buds from middle school. She's also a licensed professional counselor who lives how far from here? About a half a mile from Genesis. Who I think did you say William used to go to preschool here? He did.
Well, he did the evening nights out.
Oh, he did the parent night out here at Genesis. Okay, so. This is Mary. Thank you for being here. We're just having a conversation about our community. So, are the pets okay? They're perfect. Okay. Mary was coming from the vet, so they're expensive. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so we were just talking about. I had asked them about places that they are seeing, kind of in our community. Ryan had mentioned kind of pop-up sports clubs. Jamil had identified a need of people struggling to make deeper connection and a deeper sense of community. And so, I'd asked where they were seeing people being able to make connections and deeper connections. And then John started to talk to us about social media and how preach. That's all right. I'm in favor of preaching. So started to talk about social media and how, particularly for younger generation, I mean, this is just a given. I mean, they're connecting more deeply, good, bad, and otherwise. They're connecting more deeply through social media. Let's take let me push that a little bit more. I don't know how many regular Call of Duty players we have out here. I don't know. You might surprise me, but I think one of the things we are interested in is how we can connect more deeply in where there is need for connection. One of the things that we talk about as a church, we talk about desiring to be world blessing. And this is part of who we understand as part of our vision. We want to be good neighbors to those who are around us and be a blessing to others who are around us. I think sometimes we struggle with how to do that in a world that you're describing, John, in terms of social media. And so maybe let's take a few minutes and talk about that. Kind of what are you seeing in terms of people trying in the midst of this kind of social media world where people are connecting there and I think probably disconnecting in person in some important ways. What are you all seeing where you are in schools, in the coaching world? Like what are you seeing in terms of trying to build deeper connection there? More kind of the interpersonal things that you were starting to preach about there, John.
Well, I mean, I think I use social media, but I use it more as a tool more than anything because with our Young Warriors social media pages, it is the quickest way to communicate with parents, even parents, which is crazy to say. Like, they don't check phones, messages, they don't check emails, but you post something on Facebook and they're there, Post it on Instagram, you get 100 likes, but send an email and it's like, hello,
Okay, now you're preaching. Preach that.
and so, I mean, it is, like he said, a social media world, and kids find a lot of connection and disconnection from what they see, what they see online. And so I think it's important if you're, as a church or any kind of organization trying to connect with kids and families, you have to go that route. You have to, even if it's, I can tell you, I can post a 4-second clip and the kids and people will just be mesmerized by that little clip, and it's one of those things where people look at that satisfaction that comes very short term, and it's very short satisfaction over anything that's a long-term fulfillment.
So what I hear you saying is that preachers should do 2-minute TikTok videos and not half-an-hour sermons. Is that what you're saying?
To be honest.
Oh, we got some. Why are you clapping? Okay. All right.
It would be very appealing to the audience.
But just to piggyback on that, I think that's the power of an image. In today's world, the power of the image, sadly, as somebody who is a writer, supersedes the power of the word. So an image attracts, an image speaks, an image offers the news. Okay? When the tragedy of George Floyd happened, nobody needed to hear anything. It was that image. That said everything, that everybody, whatever happened, you can look deeper into the social and all the stuff, but the power of the image in today's society is everything. So I think we as people need to recognize that that's the in thing right now. That doesn't mean that it's going to be the in thing tomorrow. So 2 things. First, understanding that power, but also recognizing that we also may have to move beyond that because the world is moving. Okay? That things are lit are not good anymore. But fire maybe. So, but then tomorrow there's going to be another word. So the same thing happened with what is the attractive part of what makes us human. So I'm not saying that I'm happy that that's it. I'm just saying that that's what my students do all the time. You give an image, and they salivate at that. You speak for 1 minute, and they're like, ugh. Why? So is that image, is the message behind that image. So what images are we bringing to our community in order to build that community?
And one of the big things, and I know Mary will speak right after this, is when I say self-worth, those children out there basing their self-worth off of likes. Okay? They'll do something fun, of course, and what it does. You go on vacation with your kids, and they want to take 3 quick and post it. Then they sit there and watch it. Delete it. Then delete it. Because they're looking, that's where they're valuing their self-worth is off likes. There's where I find value, and again, Fortnite's another one. They play the game but start conversations. You may have heard Fortnite even longer than Call of Duty, but both for that sense. But many games and the social media across the board. But just like you were saying, the pictures, and then again, our young ladies, struggle a lot again with looking certain parts. I have 2 daughters. I have 3 granddaughters, and I'm concerned about that even every day. I even, we grew up with it. It's been around for a long time, but our young ladies struggle with that. Gentlemen, it's the same way. Again, with likes and that social media portion. So I'll leave it at that. I'm going to turn it over to Mary because she's going to blow it out from there because there's a lot to go with that. But I just wanted to add that piece about those likes. Alpha like, that's their self-worth, and that doesn't get your attention, I'll leave it alone. Yeah.
I probably have a different perspective just because of the population I'm working with. And I kind of have a counseling philosophy of sometimes you just have to meet people where they are and not expect them to conform to what your expectations are. And so sometimes it may mean that while you're not a big fan of social media, you can use that tool to your advantage to at least get somebody's foot in the door or to get a message across. And I've gone through this as a mother and as a counselor. Fortunately, right now, my son doesn't subscribe to a lot of social media. He's 16. It doesn't mean that he won't one day, but he does play a lot of video games with the Massengills, and so and other children. But they perceive substance in social media, whether it comes through views or likes or comments that people make on their social media. They find value in that, which leads me to down the path of thinking that maybe they're not receiving that on a daily basis with the people around them that they do have physical contact with the most. So if you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle, it's really important to reinforce connections intermittently without prompt. So when you have your young people around you, it's really important to just walk up to them and say, gosh, I noticed you really put effort into whatever it is you just did. Thanks for doing that, because this is the way it helped me. Or I really recognize that you've worked hard on things. Because if you're not feeding that, if you're not fueling that at home or in the community or in the environment, they're gonna seek it. And they're gonna seek it in any way that they can. And it's easy. Social media is very easy. Anonymous likes, doesn't matter that they're anonymous. They just want that affirmation. Will it stop? No, probably not. But maybe it can pull them away a little bit from the time that they're committing to it. I've had clients come in where they're spending 8 hours a day on social media. And these are teenagers. I'm like, gosh, where do you find that time? And then one day I did a check of my personal streaming, because you can count that. You can look at how much time you spend on things like Netflix or YouTube. And I was like, ooh, I think I kind of spend a lot of time on on media-based platforms too. So just because it has a different name, it doesn't mean that a lot of us aren't guilty of similar behaviors. So you just meet them where they are. Utilize the tools that they're already active and using, and try to make good of what's there. It's a learning curve. TikTok is complicated, but once you get it, it's really easy. But use the tools that are there and hope that that algorithm gets kicked into place where they're looking at really good stuff, positive stuff, instead of the outlandish stuff that's there. Because that is how it's based. It's algorithm based. So once they watch a specific type of video, the program then fuels that theme. So if you can get some good themes in there, maybe you can interrupt the content that they're seeing with such a full force. So I don't know if I said what. But TikTok videos are fun too. I mean, they really are. They're engaging. I don't know how much, they take a lot of work. So they're utilizing different skills. Believe it or not, they're utilizing a lot of skills that they may not have tapped into ever doing it. They're kind of like little creators and directors and media. They're learning how to edit and add music. And I mean, it's not all bad. There's bad stuff there, but isn't that the world we live in?
Yeah, no, great things here. A few things I'm going to lift out. Jamil talking about the power of images and how significant that is. Mary, I appreciated talking about your counseling philosophy of kind of meeting people where they are. I know somebody who was really, really good at that. His name was Jesus. Y'all heard of him, right? Yeah. I mean, just in terms of meeting people where they are, and also the importance of what y'all are talking about in terms of likes and the affirmation. Like, how are we intentional about speaking that and communicating that? I mean, that's a parent, grandparent thing, but that's also as a church, how do we speak about and how do we communicate to our neighbors and those people around us? Does that come from a place of, curiosity and affirmation and, out of a desire to give good attention? Or are we, in ways we're conscious or unconscious of, are we sending other messages? Are we somehow distancing ourselves from our community in ways? So anyway, appreciate all of that. Okay, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, and I'm gonna keep an eye on the time here, but I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, and this might be that opportunity for that recruitment you're talking about. All right, so again, you all in different ways are very connected with people all around us. You're working with them as educators, as coaches, as counselors. So if you could tell a room of people who desire to do good, who desire to be a good neighbor, who desire to bless the world around them, may not understand, maybe mess up, maybe do that in fumbling ways at times, but have a desire to be that kind of person or be that kind of community. What's a way or two that you would say, gosh, I really wish we had more people who could help with this, or more people who were willing to show up here? Do you see what I'm asking?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take that on. Again, of course, dealing with the kids. Approximately about 700 children we have from pre-K to 8th grade there at Chapel Hill Academy. What I would love to bring, recruit, ask your favor, any of the programs. We would like to start even reading programs with the little ones, that you could possibly come in and read a book to some of our, the lower grades, to work as a volunteer anywhere, and that's the bottom line, as a volunteer. Yes, I'll put my safety security hat on. I wear many hats. Paul, Miss Linda are very involved, everybody at the church here, with our safety security. We talk notes. I've asked Pastor Massengill that we've arranged it, again, for our emergency operations plan, that we might help us out if an emergency arose. But the bottom line is volunteers at the school to come by. If it's in the morning and you're off mornings and like to come and help us during arrival, where the children simply get out of the cars and come into the school. We have teachers are out there that they need to leave at 8 o'clock to get back in to start the class, but we still have children arriving just to bring them in safely into the school. As we're on the corner, we're in a kind of unique location over there, and we kind of snake the cars around the school. But, or to, like I say, come and read with us, some of the students, or come be just a mentor, talk with our social workers. And again, we do. Again, Lena Pope is our parent organization. We have many social workers and what have you that come down and speak with the students. But again, whatever conversation it might be, we'll make sure it's appropriate. But if you can just maybe come talk as a mentor and have those conversations, and those little connections become big connections, and we just build on that as a community, as school. Then the teachers take it to the next level, and the administrators over there, we're working hard on all levels to bring an appropriate learning environment. So we build this community. So it's volunteering at the school, ladies and gentlemen. If there's anything you possibly can do, please come see me. If you have a great idea, hey, you want to volunteer here, I have different committees that I'd love to have you part of that safety security committee. So you see what
this group loves committees.
And that's what I'm saying. And there's a couple sign-up sheets in the back there, right? There's not, right? But even the safety security, there's a lot of things changing with that. To get your opinion, hey, this is what's happening in our community. What can we do? How can we do that better? I meet semester, and we talk about different things. But again, it's being a volunteer with a school at any capacity, and I'll work with you and keep things safe, appropriate. And again, if you could stop by the school, whether it be in the mornings, afternoon, midday, just to do something, help a teacher out, make copies for a teacher. It could be down to that respectfully, because those teachers are working hard, ladies and gentlemen. If you know educators right now, it's hard to get. We've lost a lot of educators in across the world as far as teaching. So how are we going to support those teachers to help out with the different parties? We're going to have a Valentine's party that's coming up for the teachers. So again, I'll end at that. It's just simply volunteer. If you have any possible time, come by and see us, please.
All right.
I think with our organization, we have a diverse group of kids. We have kids with single parent homes. Some kids have both parents at home. Some kids have just different backgrounds, different socioeconomic status, different stuff going on at their house. And I think the biggest thing they really, really need is, more adult involvement, more mentorship, more people saying, hey, this I'm not going to do for you, we can do that for you. A lot of times it's hard we have kids who can't get places, or they go places, but they have no money to get food. So we have to end up finding ways to feed them, making sure they get to and from places. And sometimes they can't afford to buy a jersey, so we got to find a way to get them a jersey or find something, an alternate resource, because they don't really have a parent that's there to, especially the older kids. Like the younger the kids we have, we never really have any kind of issues. The older the kids we get, in our program, the bigger the need is for, adult involvement, because it's almost like half these kids are like raising themselves, Now, it's not all of them, but it's just always a 20-30% of them where they're really just, we're happy you're here. Because if you're not here, Lord knows where you'll be. And, unfortunately, we've had kids to come to our programs. When they leave our program, we've had kids got arrested. We've had kids do stuff they shouldn't be doing, and it's sad because you see them and you know when they're young, and you know them when they're at a certain age, and then you hear about what happened a year and a half later, you're like, dang, what more could I have done? And you did everything you could. You went to games, you took them to games, you fed them, you visited them at their school, and here they are, And so I think a lot of times it's because those kids lack just adult presence, like more than one voice. Like I love in our program, I don't like being the only voice. You know, I really like, and it works better. Missy would tell you that me and her son, we coach together. And a lot of times I can say something, but it's me. You know, they know it's gonna come from me. But then if Ricky says something, it clicks. It's like, oh, someone else said something, you know? And so the more voices they hear, the more faces they see, the more involvement people have in their lives, they say, wait, oh, really? They're onto something, you know? So that's really our biggest need is more just strong adults who are there for kids to lean on and to talk to. Because sometimes they don't want to tell me stuff. And sometimes I don't even want to hear it in the first place. But, you know, I don't want to hear that, man. But you know, it really had, the more people they can lean on and reach for, it's better for them. Because sometimes, you know, they feel like they have no one, and that's where the issues start.
So piggyback on everything. So showing up, mentorship, showing up, being present, mentorship, showing up. Did I miss? Oh, showing up. Probably that's the essence, but I will add to have a purpose. I think it's not a matter of reinventing the wheel. We have many organizations that are doing incredible work.
Yeah.
But if a church is going to start doing something, please pick one thing first instead of trying to do everything together, because you will end up doing nothing. But also have a purpose. What is the actual purpose of this work that we're doing? What is the purpose? Is the purpose is just giving ourselves there and showing up? Then that's your purpose. If the purpose is we're showing up so you can show up to our church, then that is a purpose. And you can evaluate each of them. But have a purpose for it. Because if an organization doesn't have a purpose, the people are going to start leaving because they don't feel part of something that has a purpose. They just start feeling like a work. So that would be my suggestion. So I agree, showing up, and in Crowley ISD, plenty of places to show up. So yeah. Just to let you know, so Meadow Creek is the school that we actually support in this with our snapbacks in this school. So that is a great school that you can show up, which has a lot of needs, and is right here, really close. But I would say showing up, mentorship, purpose. Those will be my three things.
I agree with all of them. And from a mental health perspective, acts of service is really important. Acts of service, volunteerism, showing up has all been shown to reduce depression. And so by getting engaged and getting involved, you're also going to be doing something really beneficial for your own mental health. So not only are you going to be helping the event or the organization that needs the help, but you're also going to be experiencing some relief from whatever you're going through. Is it going to be monumental? It could be. But it could be just enough to help you stay connected and keep your feet on the ground, especially in really low times. So I would encourage you all, if you're not already involved, you don't have to go crazy and get involved with everything, but try to do something purposeful and meaningful so that you can also be taking care of yourself. And that way it's a win-win. Everybody is benefiting from anything that you could possibly give. And there's a million different organizations out there in the Metroplex that I'm sure would love to have you help, whether it's sweeping floors or packing diapers for the diaper bank. Did you guys know there was a diaper bank? There's a diaper bank for adults and children and babies. I mean, there's lots of different organizations, so find your niche, find where you feel you are providing the most purpose, and then get that secondary fulfillment so that you're also staying mentally well.
Thank you all very much for taking part of your Saturday and being with us. Can we thank them for being with us? All right, we are going to wrap up this section. And again, I wanted y'all to listen. And so let's take a few minutes at your tables. And what did you hear that really jumped out to you and really spoke to you, that you personally, or like for you personally or for our church, that you heard that you really want to hold on to? Okay, so let's take a few minutes and discuss. And again, thank you all we really appreciate you being part of our day.